Now Lot has left. He's gone. He's moved on. He's found a place to live and build a family. And God seems to step in once that happens and reassure Abraham once again, you are going to have descendants. So this kind of comforting promise for me when I read this in context, it only makes sense within the context of disappointment and doubt and Abraham having given up something. It makes the most sense that God reassured Abraham about descendants because Abraham just surrendered what he thought would be the vehicle of God's promise. So I've already hinted at in previous Bible study walkthroughs that I am of the perspective that Abraham took Lot with him as the way, as technically seeing Lot as the way God will fulfill his promises. In other words, Abraham might view Lot, and I understand different culture for us, so there's that cultural gap and differences in how we view family, but Abraham might have viewed Lot as the way that God would continue Abraham's line and lineage. Is Lot would kind of be a surrogate. So the question I have is, did Abraham possibly bring Lot because he supposed that God might give him descendants through Lot as a kind of surrogate for him? Was Lot the one that Abraham supposed would continue his family name and somehow being his closest living family relative who's with him? Nahor's gone. He's in Ur of the Chaldeans. Is technically Abraham viewing Lot in that way? Again, the reason I say this is because we've been told several times specifically that Abram brought Lot with him. And when God said to leave his family and his father's house and his land, now Lot has left. He's gone. He's moved on. He's found a place to live and build a family. And God seems to step in once that happens and reassure Abraham once again, you are going to have descendants. Lot leaving doesn't change that. So this kind of comforting promise for me when I read this in context, it only makes sense within the context of disappointment and doubt and Abraham having given up something. It makes the most sense that God reassured Abraham about descendants because Abraham just surrendered what he thought would be the vehicle of God's promise, that being Lot. And I think this makes sense in context. Looking at Abraham's life, he's going to view Hagar, his Egyptian servant, in this same way. Abraham and Sarah go, well, God promised us descendants. He must have meant Hagar. In other words, this wouldn't be out of left field. This wouldn't be inconsistent with Abraham's character and decisions throughout the story. Abraham viewing Lot as the way God would fulfill his promises, that's not too far, out of left field. That actually makes sense. He has a history of making decisions like that. So what we'll see later on is that once Lot leaves, Abraham's going to have to rescue Lot, and then he'll have to let him go again. Then he'll have to step in and play mediator role and pray for Lot once God, says judgment's coming for Sodom and Gomorrah. So what we see here is that Abraham chooses to do what was right, but it comes at a cost to himself. It was a kind of sacrifice to not bring Lot with him anymore and not have that security and assurance and well, at least we have Lot. God's probably going to use Lot. By letting him go, Abraham was essentially saying, I have stripped myself of any worldly, physical, human plan or strategy or scheme to bring about my own descendants. I'm free falling into the hands of God. I have no backup plan. There's no physical way this should happen. Abraham will have to make another similar sacrifice in Genesis 22 with Isaac. And throughout our lives, we will have to let go of what we once found hope and security in too. In order to truly rely on God and what He has for us, we will have to let go of things. There will be self-denial. There will be surrendering. There will be yielding and giving up what we thought would be most beneficial to us, but God says something else is better. Following God often involves that difficult sacrifice, but He's worth it. So did Abraham possibly bring Lot to be the one who would realize the promise and secure that? I tend to think so. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Jason, and I have some free gifts for you on our website at abovereproachministry.com. Maybe you want to learn how to study the Bible. We have free Bible classes just for you. Are you maybe a newer believer? Go ahead and check out our Christianity 101 Foundations course. Maybe you hate videos. Well, we have a podcast, so you can listen to all of our messages on whatever podcast platform you prefer. Maybe you want to join or start a discussion group. Check out our map of all the current armed discussion groups all around the world. And do you maybe live near Greenville, South Carolina? If you do, you should check out our church. Visit movementchurchsc.com for more information. And if you'd like to partner with us financially, you can snag a copy of my book, Fruitful, or head over to the donate page and donate through debit or credit card, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Patreon, or even mail a check to P.O. Box 509, Inman, South Carolina. And if you want to make a ministry connection, feel free to reach out to me on our website. All right, I know that was a lot, but I'm done. So let's get back to the video. And then God has Abraham walk through the land. So Abram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre. And this is the first time we see this location, which is going to be a key, spiritually significant location throughout the biblical story. Specifically with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this location, the Oaks of Mamre, are going to be a place where they set up house, at least Abram here, and frequently visit, which was at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. How does Abraham respond to the promises and the presence and the visitation of God? With worship. So notice that God is the one giving the land. God is the one giving descendants. God is the one giving success and multiplication and expansion. Abraham is slowly realizing he's not going to accomplish what God has promised him in his own efforts. Abraham is slowly realizing he cannot plan or scheme his way into the promises of God being realized for him. Though we'll see hints of that coming back up with Hagar, and we're like, bro, Abraham, I thought you learned. God is giving Abraham what he's promised. It's not coming by way of human work and effort and scheming. It's coming by way of promise. God said he'll do it, so he's going to do it. This is not about what Abraham can do, but about what God can do. It's not about what Abraham can give, but about what God gives. And we'll see that in Genesis 22. It's not about what Abraham sacrifices to God. It's about what God provides on that mountain, on Mount Moriah. This is the mount that God provides. The Lord will provide. It's not about what Abraham can accomplish. Abraham's job is to see and believe, which is the gospel. The gospel's all over that. We see what God promises to give. We see what God has provided in his Son. We take him at his word, and we trust, and we receive. And that's the story of every biblical character. They're called to believe, trust, rely on God and his word and his promises, and receive what God has done and what he's provided. And so we'll see that the Oaks of Mamre at Hebron going to be a significant location throughout the rest of the story. But how do we handle fear and the illusion of control and this tension of I'm supposed to do something, but I also have to rely on God, and sometimes I'm supposed to take a decision into my own hand while prayerfully navigating that, and other times God says sit and be still and do nothing. How do I navigate this? I think this story just really provides a lot of wisdom for us to employ when we're in similar situations that Abraham finds himself in. Hey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more biblical content just like this. We have hundreds of videos, but you might be most interested in these ones right here. Also, visit our website for all of our free resources and classes. And thank you so much for partnering with us financially to make this ministry even possible. Keep moving towards Jesus, and I'll see you in the next video.